get connected to the dedicated freight corridors, and how will they get connected to the highways, to the Golden Quadrilateral, to the airports and ports. And we've looked at the requirement of power, and in fact the Delhi-Mumbai corridor itself is establishing 6 power projects of 1,000 to 1,300 megawatts. It is doing several water recycling projects. It is structuring several projects.
But the cities of future would not come cheap. According to estimates, each of these cities would cost anywhere between 35,000 to 75,000 crore rupees. So who would foot the bill?
Financing of the DMIC projects is certainly going to be one of the key challenges, requiring great deal of innovation, great deal of very carefully and surgically structured division between public responsibilities and private responsibilities, a true form of public-private partnership, so that both public capital and private capital can join hands in the most efficient manner to be able to produce these results.
In fact, that is the model that is being followed for the DMIC project. The total expenditure is expected to be over $100 billion. And the government of India, along with Japan, would contribute around $10 billion. The rest would be contributed by the private sector. An ambitious target, but does the private sector have that kind of money?
All of this is not coming in 1 year. These townships take anywhere from 5 years to 15 years to develop. So when you see, new cities in India, whether it was Chandigarh or whether it is Noida or others, do take anything from a decade to 2 decades or even longer to develop. So this private capital is not going to be required on day one. It will be required as these projects gather steam and momentum.
But what's there for the private sector? And will it prove to be commercially viable?
There are activities which don't have the ability to generate commercial revenues. Typically urban roads, sewage, solid waste disposal can generate revenues, but certainly not enough to recover the capital cost. Whereas there are other kinds of activities which are obvious, electricity generation, telecom services, power generation, which can easily be water even, which can be more commercially viable. And those are then left to the private sector. But even where you are looking at public funding, financing those assets, which have to be necessarily financed by public funding, it does not mean, and that's an important distinction.
India's first smart city, Dholera in Gujarat, will be developed along the 921-mile Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor, on which a whopping $100 billion will be spent. AECOM, a Fortune 500 company, has been given the $30 million contract for full program management for Dholera project. AECOM is a global provider of professional, technical and management support services to a broad range of markets, including transportation facilities, environmental, energy, water and government.
Dholera is a huge township. It's ultimately by 2040 we are hoping to build about 900 square kilometers, but we are starting in phases. The first phase is about 150 square kilometers, but even within that we have an activation area, and that activation area is going to be 22.5 square kilometers. We call it activation because it's going to activate the rest of Dholera over the next 30 years. And our goals for the activation area is to get it completed by 2019. So industries can come in. It's basically a plug and play system where industries come in and they basically just build their structures and they start production. We have completed all of the environmental planning, the assessment, the master planning. The design is all done, the preliminary design. We have issued some major tenders, and the tenders are due December 2nd, and we are hoping to award the first contract for the roads and underground utilities by December 19th, when the Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi is going to be doing the ground laying ceremony for that.
Dholera is part of Dholera Special Investment Region Corporation's New Cities Infrastructure Program.
Trying to identify the right technology for the right part of infrastructure, which maximizes the not just the output but fulfills the complex